Hi, my name is David Fleming from Disciples Ignited, and we are studying faith in action. And we're looking specifically about that subject matter in Hebrews chapter 11. Today we're going to be reading the last two verses of that chapter, and they really sum up everything that is presented to it. Hebrews chapter 11 is all about commending people throughout the Word of God for their great faith. We talk about Abraham, Noah, David, Samuel, just a whole list of people that were commended for their faith. But listen to how the writer of Hebrews ends that chapter. It's amazing. He wrote, "These were all commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect." What does it mean that they didn't receive what God promised? Well, no, that's not exactly what it said. It said they didn't receive what God had promised, but they did together with us. That's the key. Together with us, they received. Now, what this is telling us is when God makes you a promise, more often than not, that promise is not just to you as an individual, it involves many people. So when God fulfills that promise, He is actually fulfilling it for everybody that it was intended for. Let's take, for instance, the promise that God made Abraham. God said, "I'm going to make you a father of a whole nation." And then he told Abraham to look at the stars in the sky. He said, "Your nation, your people that you're going to give birth to are going to outnumber all the stars in the sky." What a promise. But we know that that all was leading up to be fulfilled in the giving of Messiah Jesus. Yes, Jesus came from the lineage that all started with Abraham. And so we see that God made this promise to Abraham, and he did partially receive the fulfillment of that in the birth of his first son, Isaac. But yet the fullness of that promise was not fulfilled until Jesus came among us. So the promises that God gives to people are so much bigger than those people. They involve everybody that is going to be affected by that promise. So it's really summed up in verse 40 when it says, God had planned something better for us so that only together with us would they be made perfect. So when God gives you a promise and it doesn't seem like He's coming through, just remember that that promise involves probably so much more than just you. It involves many more. And so when the Lord does bring it to pass, it is going to be a fulfillment for everybody that has been perfected through the fulfillment of that promise. That gives us a whole different perspective on the fulfillment of God's promises, doesn't it? But all in all, it points us back to Jesus. For the promises of God are all in Jesus and really pointing to Jesus for His glory. Faith is a wonderful thing, and it teaches us much about the ways of God and how He works in our lives. But there's more to learn, so I want you to join with me the next few days as we study more about faith in action. So I'll see you tomorrow.